This video is sponsored by Skillshare, not the fake Skillshare that hacked me last year, but the actual real Skillshare. Nobody likes a long intro. Here we go. The most popular videos on my channel right now are in fact me fixing the absolute abomination of a novel I wrote when I was 11. We're all here for chapter 3. So today I called in the big guns, how to improve your writing in 10 simple steps. We will see how all of these skills transfer into the improved chapter 3. Here she is. She was buried and in hiding for the last 7 months, but she's back with a vengeance. One page. Yep, I knew this document was haunted. So last where we left off, Carmi's boyfriend, she finds out he's coming back to Whiteville. She has a panic attack about that. And then her mom's like, would another boy cheer you up? Because I've got one for you. And it's Jack, the guy who he did stalk her. The guy who stalked her in the mall the night before, I believe. And so now apparently they know each other. The Carmi's just found out that they know each other. Mom, I need some time alone with Jack. I don't know why that's in quotes because that's his name. Back to the avoiding said like we're deathly allergic. Gotta get that 50-inch margin, which good for your manuscript when it's in the editing phase, not so much for the formatting phase. What are you doing here? I snapped. Looking into his big brown. I'm mad at you and I hate you, but wow, you're cute. What is this, Emberly and Leo? Well, it's nice to see you too, Carmi Jordan. Oh, I was so desperate for a nickname back then, a cute nickname that he could give her. I just went for the full name because I had no ideas. He teased with a tiny chuckle, and I didn't bother to ask him how in the world he knew my full name. Has it been so long that I forgot how bad this is, or is it just getting worse? Oh my goodness, projects and resource. Oh my god, I could. This, wow, I am impressed. Oh no, oh no, no. I'm really excited for that. I'm excited for that. I like that. I like this a lot. Oh my goodness. Okay, so show me my weak spots. I'm ready to learn.
So you want to become a better writer?
Yeah.
Be it
The first lesson was, of course, about weak spots and about identifying those weak spots. And I love the list that Miss Hansman provided for me to be able to pick from and go back to in my own writing to see if I can recognize any of these patterns. Lesson 2 was about immersing yourself by reading books both in and out of your genre, which is hard for me because it's so hard to find not only good books, but books that don't have a lot of unwanted content. That said, I am pushed to start investigating and dissecting and throwing myself into all of the books on my bookshelf right now because I know that they have a treasure trove of information and great examples of writing that I can learn from. First impressions. First of all, I really enjoy how concise these classes are. They have just enough information, but not an overwhelming amount. Excuse the attire today. I woke up extra tired and dizzy for some reason, which every writer is keenly aware is the prime state of mind to write any piece of work. And this is a piece of work.
Whew, okay, already 3 lessons in, time for our first exercise.
Wait, what? Just out of curiosity, I want to see what other writing classes they have. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's basically like an entire semester of university in creative writing on Skillshare. It's a platform where you can learn about any creative skill or hobby that you want to pick up, which means that any subject that comes into my books, like
chess or the art of tea and brewing or even other languages. I can basically do a ton of my book research on here.
And it's keeping me away from consistently checking social media or playing games on my phone.
If you're looking to reconnect with your own creativity and perhaps avoid the doom scrolling and consistent brain rot we're all undergoing, check out Skillshare. It is where real people can come together and learn from other real people. Skillshare is generously providing a 1-month free trial to the first 500 people who use my link or scan the QR code somewhere on the screen. So you will have 1 full month to pursue for free any endeavor of your choosing.
I'm not gonna lie, I had a moment of pride where I thought, what am I gonna learn from the words and grammar lesson? And was subsequently humbled when she started talking about expanding one's vocabulary, finding synonyms for the most common words we use. That's something I've actually hardly ever pursued because I was so heavily pursuing grammar that I forgot vocabulary had a 50% role when it comes to the quality and power of writing.
How to improve your writing in 1 simple step. Drink.
Number 5, show and tell. A very, very common, well-known rule in writing is show, don't tell. I do believe that the rule should be show and tell, not show, don't tell. Show and tell. You need to find a healthy balance. Because if you only show, the writing style gets very, very flowery and convoluted. And in some genres, nonfiction and fantasy, for example, this simply does not always work. Only showing will only confuse the reader. For show and tell, play with both, experiment with both, and find your own personal balance for the story that you want to tell.
All of that, I agree wholeheartedly, and I say this to my editing clients and the friends I beta and alpha read for. There is a time and place for everything, even passive voice. It's a matter of, is whatever tool or writing rule you're using right now serving the manuscript, the story, and or the reader in any significant way? If the only reason you have it in is because it just sounds prettier, there are some questions that need to be asked.
See, I use passive voice to avoid directly blaming anyone there.
That's actually a pretty smooth transition to lesson 6, which was reduce, delete, kill, otherwise known as the kill your darlings rule. And it had the exact same guideline. If this is not serving the book or your reader, most importantly, in a significant way, it's probably best to delete it. I'm going to practice this rule using the improved chapter 2, solely because of this infamous moment in the last video. Wait, how many words is this? This chapter is... And I really hope OG chapter 2's 1600 words does not turn into improved chapter 2's 3K words. I turned it into 3K! For the record, and as a side note, 3K is not that long at all for a chapter if it really needs that much room. I'm just not sure that this chapter does need that much room. Ooh, okay, see? I actually thought this when I was reviewing it. Okay, but hear me out. What if you go back to the mall and find him again, Courtney said, smirking and making her thoughts as plain as day. This right here is telling the reader what her thoughts are, but Courtney has already showed us her thoughts in her dialogue. I'm going to keep smirking because it helps convey the tone that she would be asking this question. But if I delete it, and I think this is the biggest test, the meaning of this paragraph is exactly the same. I admitted in chapter 2's video that I only included this paragraph when I was a kid because I lived vicariously through my stories, so I could just... I wish this weren't such a prime example of this rule because I actually really like this part. I can't tell you why, I just like it. I could just do this, then I could just do that. Yeah, we've already gotten rid of like 3 dozen words. I'm actually gonna keep this just because Carmi said this, us all in the middle of a bite. So I don't want the reader to imagine that Stephanie's asking this with her mouth full. Especially not Stephanie, that would just totally conflict with her character. So see, there's a balance going on here. This is why I justify all of my edits, whether copy edits or line edits, to my clients. You have to be able to argue why your change is an improvement, because then that takes you out of less subjective territory into more objective territory. And you do need an extent of objectivity to let you know the quality of your book or your writing.
I'll probably continue killing the darlings and let you know the updated word count tomorrow. in Build Up, Ms. Hansman talked about how we can build up our writing skills by not only consuming media mindfully, but also well writing and practicing that skill and that muscle at least as often as we can.
So let's do the first step, which is always the hardest, together. Let's practice.
No!
Oh, speaking of, I did promise the updated word count after that, and 2,900 is now 2,500. That's a whopping 400 words, which is very roughly almost 2 whole novel pages in a book. In other words, if this were a real book and someone had read it, they would have just read almost 2 entire pages of that book for no reason. That's why killing your darlings is so important, and revising like you are a reader reading someone else's book is so important. Thankfully, she didn't just throw us into the deep end and say, hey, build up your writing skills. Habits was all about how to develop habits for developing your writing. And she did throw down this piping hot drink of tea, so listen up.
What I will say though, that you should be writing every single day. Not actually writing, but doing something that is related to writing. Read a few pages in a book, journal, write a diary, hear a song, really listen to the lyrics, choose the next book you want to read, think about different words, hear when somebody's having a conversation.
Update your Pinterest board. She's so understanding.
And I'm so glad that she said that in order to write every day, you just have to do things that relate to writing every day. And for me, that includes improving chapter 3.
Especially when you're like trying to develop like a habit, or you're trying to find success, trying to replicate success, it can be very difficult to really stay creative and to also keep the joy. I personally,
I don't like this one.
if you have experienced something, that immediately means that you are better prepared to write about it.
True.
However, I will say though, if you are a horror crime author, this is not true for you. Do not go out of your way to actually experience those things.
Aww.
So you still need to be aware and go outside and live a good life. Just please don't try to experiment with those horror elements, but I trust that you will. The second point, and I know trying new things, it sometimes takes a bit of courage, but we're going to talk about that in the next lesson. Lesson number 10. Don't be afraid.
Okay.
The last lesson I would like to talk about today to become a good writer is to not be afraid. If you're afraid of making mistakes, if you're afraid of not being the best at it right from the get-go, you will never be a good writer, because the only way to be a good writer is to put yourself out there and to improve as you go and to be courageous.
I've actually found that true for all endeavors. I'm kind of trying to get back into art, because I used to be someone who drew all the time as a kid, because I just really enjoyed it. And that was how I wrote my first stories ever. I drew them, but I noticed that it wasn't until I started telling myself it's going to look bad and that's okay, just draw it poorly, that I started having fun with it again, and also started actually seeing improvement.
First, remember that you can write for yourself and yourself only. There might be a lot of reasons, like social media or writing being your job, that make it harder to remember that not every single piece you write needs to be published or shared and be quote-unquote good enough. You can just write for yourself. Even with a pen and paper, or your notes app on your phone, or on a typewriter, or whatever works for you. Nobody needs to see but yourself.
Why am I getting emotional? Don't let anyone tell you that creating character art or going on Pinterest or doing anything that fuels the fire for your book and your story and your world is not writing. Literally speaking, it is not writing, but it is writing related, and therefore it is fostering your book in a healthy way. Did you get any writing done? You can tell them, I did this writing related activity and therefore I was productive. Or am I just making excuses again? Final thoughts. Here we go.
That's kind of the best writing advice actually out there, is when you encounter writing advice from me or from anybody else, take what works for you, leave what doesn't. But I hope
that whole thing, I'm gonna condense the entire video down to that one sentence, because that's all you really need to know.
next class. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh, you can't hear me. I finished the class! Yay! My biggest takeaway from this lesson, and I hope all of you can share it, is don't be afraid to do it badly. That barrier of perfectionism always critically stopped me from pursuing anything creative, because it went from creating to performing, and then the joy got sucked out of everything for a long time. I guess that means I can't hide anymore and I actually have to improve chapter 3. So what happened in chapter 3, because I know it was just a time lapse, Carmi goes on this horribly unrealistic and melodramatic date with Jack, and her friends ruin it, and she almost breaks up with them because they follow her to the date and sit next to her for some reason. I did not check to see how many words this was. It's not as long as chapter 2, thankfully. It is the longest chapter in the book so far. I want to write this chapter a little bit differently this time and apply all of the tips that I've learned in the Skillshare class. Not translate every individual line, but translate the story, the plot, the characters, and the dynamics, which is kind of what I've already been doing. Let's focus on 3 tips in particular: show and tell, reduce, delete, kill, and don't be afraid. How do we start this? So how about Carmi says, do we have a moment? That's all that's coming to me right now. Don't be afraid to do it badly, just do it. Keeping my stare on Jack to we don't need further actually, to just emphasize. We're gonna add something here to, I guess, further show the dynamic that her mom has with Jack. I almost wanted to stop her from, okay, see, now we're showing a little bit more of the world and what's going on here. Already be boiling alive in some hot water. You know, we're really embracing the don't be afraid to do it poorly today. And she can honestly just say the same thing. What are you doing here? Like, bro. I don't want her to get so caught up in her emotions immediately, so I'm gonna say asked, because I have to respect my main character. She is a spy in training. Why would she just go off like that immediately? Crossing my arms against any excuse. He was ready to pull up, showing that not only does she feel defensive, she feels a little insecure around him because she has a crush on him. And she's also deflective because she's crossing her arms against anything he might say, but she's insecure. Wait, you're 15, you're insecure. Oh, why can't I think of anything other than what he originally says? I cannot in sound mind include her full name in his dialogue anymore, because it's just, I can justify it in a movie, not in a novel. There, see, I'm including it. You can't get mad. Sorry, Allie Carter. This is definitely probably ripped straight from Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, but it's all that's coming to me right now. And that's fine, as long as we don't publish it. This is just for us right now. Why is this going so much faster than it usually does? Here's our famous time lapse of improved chapter 3 coming to life. That was so easy. I'm very suspicious as to why that was so easy. Have I learned something? This is why I wanted to take the 10 lessons across 5 separate days, so that I would, I guess, be able to marinate and subconsciously start putting them into practice, because that was actually pretty easy. After finding Carmi's internal conflict and really internalizing that don't be afraid, especially to do it badly, it helped everything flow, and I wasn't afraid anymore to start writing. Moving forward, I'm going to take all of these tips into account. In fact, I'm excited to take them into account, especially as I start pursuing Mansion Book. And I would say that the absolute biggest takeaway for me is to not be afraid. And I encourage you to take that piece of advice with you. So a huge thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video and for equipping me with vital writing tools that I will get to use in the future for all of my projects. And a big thank you to you for watching as well. I know it was a longer one today, but if you are interested in the book series that this book ultimately came out of, you can check out some information about that in the description. Or if you prefer standalones and or medieval fantasy, you can check out Thy Kingdom Comes information in the description below as well. Or if you need publishing services yourself, you can contact me on my website. Thank you again so much for watching, and happy reading!